Good evening, my creepy fam. I just would like to make a quick announcement. The story that I previously posted is actually a series, so there's definitely more to come with this tale. I'm excited to narrate it, and we are in for a story. So buckle up, and thanks for listening. Now listen up, motherfucker. I snapped while grinding the desert eagle harder against his crotch. Tell me where I can find my wife. He shook his head even faster. You you don't know what you're doing, man. Just stop and accept the way that things are. I cocked my head and narrowed my eyes at him. You know, I always have just stopped and accepted the way that things are, friend. I thought I liked that path. It gave me a Volvo, a beige one. I huffed, and it wound up with a kidnapped wife. So no, I'm not going to remove the barrel of this gun from your penis. His eyes grew wider, reflecting the full moon above as his aggression ebbed. Do you even have a plan, Harold Miller? Nope, I snapped back, and it's simply transcendental feeling. Okay, he nodded. Okay then, think about it, Harold Miller. You take the $250,000, agree not to shoot me, and we're square. I don't tell anyone that this happened, and the people who would be very angry if they discovered your behavior, well, they'll never know. Now, will they? I pursed my lips. You seem to know much more about me than I do about you, friend. So tell me, what do I do for a living? He stared at me, confused. I drilled the desert eagle harder into his genitals. You do data analysis and statistical reconfiguration for a large multinational corporation? He squeaked. Very good, you creepy bastard. That means I know how to evaluate the probability of bullshit when it's served to me in an ice cream cone by vendors promising a delicacy. So I'll reject your offer of sacrificing my significant advantage and will replace it with one of my own. His face was now pale enough to reflect the moonlight as well. Okay, Harold Miller, what is that? Huh? I shot back. What's what? Your offer, he answered, confused. The one that's better than mine? What is it? Oh, I responded. I hadn't thought that far. I wrinkled my brow. Give me your cell phone. Why? He huffed. Because I still have a gun aimed at your penis. From now on, let's use that as a default answer to any question you have. His face froze. Then he slowly lowered his hand towards his pants pocket. Oh, and if you pull out another weapon or pretend that you're reaching for your phone and then try to grab the desert eagle, remember this gun, your pelvic area, and a front lawn that looks like it rained chunky marinara sauce? I added. The man nodded. Every hair stood on the back of my neck as I watched him reach into his pocket. I was half certain that he was going to pull a fast one and attack me. I'd never felt so alive as I did in a moment when I considered that death might be 5 seconds away. That fear curdled in my stomach as he withdrew a black object from his pocket. For a moment, I was sure that he held another gun. I breathed again when I saw that it was a phone. He offered it towards me in slow, careful movements. That's when I realized that he was afraid of me. I had never considered that fear might flow the other way. I suppose that my entire life up to that point had been driven by a fear of upsetting unknown persons if I dared to challenge the path that lay before me. "Call your boss," I ordered. "What?" he stammered. "You're the grunt who was sent on a risky task. You're not the brains of this operation, mate, and I doubt that you've been the brains behind any task in your whole damn life. Now call the person who was smart enough to pay a short-sighted fool to take the risk on his behalf." He looked at me in disgust, and then he called the number before lifting the phone to his head with his right hand as I snatched it away with my left. It rang for what felt like an interminable amount of time, during which my circulatory system seemed to exchange my blood for adrenaline. I suddenly recalled such breathless pauses during my early courtship of Helen. They were the most nerve-wracking moments of my existence, either before or since, and at the time, I was grateful that I only ever sought the carnal companionship of one woman. "Why are you calling?" An irritated man's voice grumbled from the other end. I nearly vomited upon opening my mouth, so overwhelming was the fear. My first attempts to speak were dry rasps. I licked my lips, grateful that chapstick was part of my weekly routine, and tried again. "I have him at gunpoint," I explained in a matter-of-fact voice.
You have who at gunpoint?"
he demanded, growing angrier. I didn't catch his... Well, he's the guy who thinks women can't do calculus, I responded. You think women can't do calculus? He shot back. What kind of a misogynist are you? Huh? I responded. No, that's what he thinks, not me. But you just said it.
I heard
you. I was momentarily speechless. Yes, I did, but when I relate a sentence that someone else has said for the purposes of clarifying who they are, you know that doesn't mean that I share all their viewpoints, right? Do I really have to spell this out loud for you? Yes. I don't know how to explain the obvious, and why would you admit that this confuses you? Isn't that embarrassing? Because I can't tell the difference. I searched for words. That's impossible. I absolutely refuse to believe that anyone with the mental capacity to understand spoken language is stupid enough to misinterpret things in the way that you're describing. Well, believe it, asshole, he responded with a note of finality. A piece of my spirit withered in that moment as part of my faith in humanity died forever. Okay, I believe you. I shook my head. Listen, there's something you need to know. And what is that? He demanded. For a moment, I was 10 years old again, standing on the edge of the high dive and looking into the water below. My parents were encouraging me to jump, and I didn't want to disappoint them. I put 1 foot forward, staring down at the 19-foot drop over lane 13, going through the motions of taking the plunge. I stopped there, however. I had always known, that I couldn't make myself leap any more than I could lift a house over my head. It was simply beyond my capability. My parents didn't say anything as I climbed down the ladder, and they never encouraged me to jump again. The fear I had in that moment, holding a phone in one hand and a pistol in the other, was a tree grown from the roots of the paralyzing childhood terror that had led me to this juncture. Show me the boy at 10 and I'll show you the man at 40. The only current difference was that I now faced sensible fear. Once I took the next step, prudent risk analysis informed me that I was likely to be tortured to an early death. Everything in my life would have been different if I'd never met Helen. I squeezed the trigger. The Desert Eagle kick was nothing compared to the shockwaves in my ear. I felt like a gorilla had slapped both sides of my head. Wincing and holding the phone 3 inches away, I could barely hear the man's voice over the ringing. What the fuck was that? He demanded. The man you sent for me? I just shot his penis off with a Desert Eagle. What?
No
way. I held the phone aloft. Even with the ringing in my ears, the pure agony of his screams cut through like a knife. Do you hear that? I asked, bringing the cell back to my face. That's the terror of a man who's just been forcibly separated from his genitalia. What do you say now, motherfucker? I awaited his response. The line went dead. They were coming for me. Hey, my creepy fam. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. Wow. I don't think I have any morals for this story as of yet because, as I mentioned before, this is a series, so there is definitely more to come. And it looks like Harold has a lot on his hands, if you know what I mean. Please subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon so you can receive notifications of my postings every week. And I will see you ghouls soon. You never know what goes bump in the night.